can't tell if this like hairstyle makes me look like a little kid or not, but it's what we're working with, so we're gonna have to deal. Hello everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today, as if you couldn't tell by the title of the video, we are doing my July reading wrap up. I'm so excited because, like, first of all, look at what's behind me. This cute ass bookshelf. I think I talked about it in my last video that I literally just got it. My husband got it for me for my birthday. In the past, after I had read a book, I would just immediately put it on my bookshelf to like where I would like it. But then when I would have to film, you know, these videos, or if I was talking about particular books in my videos, I would have to like take them all off and it would like mess everything up. And I don't like that. I've decided I'm gonna wait till like the very end of the month to do that and keep all of the books that I have read throughout the month here on my bookshelf right here. So these are all of the books I read this month. All right, so let's finally talk about some of the books I read this month. I read a total of 6. I read 6 books, and unfortunately, I did not read more than last month, which was, I know, my goal. I remember specifically saying that in my last video, but I came pretty close. I think I read 7 books last month. Unfortunately, I think the only reason I'm gonna say that I didn't read more this month was because the books I chose, which I obviously didn't know when I chose them, the pacing of them was so ridiculously slow that it took me so long to finish them. So some of these books I did already talk about in a previous video, so if you wanna go see another in-depth review about them, you can go ahead and watch that video. It's fun, you might as well. All right, so let's talk about the first book I read this month, and I read Meet Me at the Lake. This was a really, really popular book. Quite honest, this book did take me incredibly long to finish. I wasn't super into it. Now, I do believe that part of the reason was because of all of the stuff that I had already heard about the book, that people didn't really like it, and I really do think that that impacted my own opinion of reading the book. So I'm really gonna try not to do that with books in the future. It just like already set my standards for the book, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm giving it an unfair rating because I already had a predetermined notion about the book. This book follows Fern and Will. So there's a now and then timeline. Fern and Will meet when they're, I think it's 21 years old, and they spend one whole day together, a full 24 hours, getting to know each other and just hanging out. And then they decide that 1 year later, they're gonna meet back up at her family's resort. But unfortunately, Will never shows up. 10 years later, basically, Will shows up and she is completely befuddled to see him and doesn't even know what to do. But after reading this book, I can totally understand why they wouldn't have liked it. So another thing about this book that I saw people kept saying was that Fern and Will both had significant others when they first met, and they spent this full 24 hours together, basically like falling in love. But I understand why she wrote the book the way that she did, but I could definitely understand why people wouldn't like it, because basically it's like a cheating trope, but it's almost not, because that's not really what happens. But I could completely understand why people like would not be on board for this book. Also, another thing about this book, the pacing was very slow. Like, not a lot happened, but then things were skipped over. So like in the present timeline, there was things that like there was time in between that was skipped. You didn't really need to see it because I don't think anything actually happened. A lot of other people also said that, you know, within that missing time gap, it was like at one point they weren't together, and the next thing you know, they're together and they're in love. That's definitely not the way that it happened. It's definitely more of like a slower progress, but always in the back of their minds being like, oh, like I still have feelings for this person that I met once 10 years ago. Type of thing, you know what I mean? With all that being said, and I didn't do a very good job at talking about this book because honestly, so many people have already talked about it, and like I said, I kind of already had a predetermined notion of this book, so what I'm gonna say is definitely closely related to what other people have already said. Once I heard it and then read the book, it kind of like validated all of their thoughts, and I was just like, yeah, no, that's true, like it's just the way it is. So I ended up actually rating this book about a 3 stars. Didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It was very, very slow, and I think it could have been better. I feel like Carly Fortune has so much potential to write such amazing quality books, and I think she's just kind of, with this one, fell a little short. Granted, it was only her 2nd book. Next up, we have Dreamland by Nicholas Sparks. I've said this once before, and I'm gonna say it again. Nicholas Sparks was an OG favorite author for me. Like, I absolutely loved him and his books and his writing, and obviously all of the movies. Like, the movies are a big reason that I read his his books and that like I really enjoyed them because I really enjoyed the movies. So most of his books I actually ended up reading before I was even like really into reading. This is his newest release, I'm pretty sure. And to be quite honest, this one fell really short for me. The pacing was so incredibly slow and the storyline just didn't intrigue me that much at all. It took me forever to read this book and it's really not even that long. It's like just over 350 pages and it almost feels like nothing happens the entire time because it's not necessarily like a love story. Well, it is, but it's not. And it's like it's weird to describe. So basically this book follows two points of views of Colby and Beverly. In Colby's point of view, he is performing at a bar in West Palm Beach, Florida. He is a farmer and a musician. He works on the farm full time, but he just really loves music and enjoys it. So he took this job down in West Palm Beach, Florida to sing at a bar just kind of for fun. And while he's there performing in West Palm Beach, Florida, he ends up meeting a girl named Morgan Lee who is there on vacation for a full week with her friends. And with Beverly's story, you follow her and her son. So Beverly is trying to escape her abusive husband and find a better life for her and her son. The book itself just fell really flat for me. It wasn't as interesting as some of his other books that I've read where I'm completely like obsessed with the characters. Certain things were very like not the way that they would happen. So like Morgan in the book is a really popular TikToker. And so the way that the book is like talking about her being a TikToker is weird because like that's just like not really how it works. So like that part kind of like fell short for me where I was just like, I'm not really interested in this. And I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. It just wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. It was just subpar. I ended up actually giving it 3 stars because it's not that I didn't enjoy it. There were times where I was very like intrigued with the book. There were multiple times where I was reading and I kind of got distracted while I was reading and like had to reread stuff over again because I forgot what I had read. Next up, we have a wonderful little fun summer read, UN Honeymooners. I enjoyed this book so much. It was such a cute, fun little read. It had such great, amazing banter. I thought the characters were super funky and cool. Not funky, I don't know. Is that the right word? Funky? I don't know. But I thought the characters were like a little bit quirky and like had very nice little characteristics to them that I have seen in other books, but the way that Christina Lauren had written it, I thought was really fun. So if you don't know what the UN Honeymooners is about, so basically this book follows Olive and Ethan. So Olive is a twin sister, thinks of herself as the unlucky twin. So her sister is currently getting married to Ethan's brother, and an unfortunate thing at the wedding happens where everybody gets food poisoning except for Olive and Ethan. Due to the fact that her sister and her are identical twins, and she had just gotten married, and her identical twin is sick with food poisoning, she can no longer go on her honeymoon. So Amy tells her, take my honeymoon because it's non-refundable. Ethan's brother, who is the groom, is also offered the honeymoon over to his brother. So Olive and Ethan are enemies and they both decide, you know what, we can put our differences aside just to go on a free 10-day honeymoon. Yeah, they're gonna do it. So they end up taking this honeymoon to Hawaii and they end up pretending to be married. And the weird thing is that Olive is actually enjoying pretending to be married to Ethan. The banter in this book is so great. It was just a really fun, quirky read. Flew through this book. It literally took me less than a day to read the whole thing. Not less than a day. It took me a little bit more than a day because I had to take breaks. But literally, I sat and read this book and for hours. I simply just couldn't put it down. It was so good. It was just really cute also to see them get to know each other and spend time together and realize that they actually like spending time together. Olive soon realizes that Ethan's not this like horrible person like she thought he was. When you're on a fake honeymoon in Hawaii, anything could happen. So I ended up actually giving this book about a 4.5 stars. Like I said, I absolutely loved it. I highly, highly recommend. This is the first book I actually ever read by Christina Lauren. It like blew me away, to be quite honest. Like I'm so excited for other Christina Lauren books now. Considering that I heard really mixed reviews, like some people loved it, other people hated it. And I'm so glad that I was one of the people who enjoyed it because I had already had 2 books that I didn't enjoy this month before this one. And then so this one kind of put me back into, kind of got me out of a pre-reading slump. Like, I would have been in a slump if this book had not gone over as well as it did. All right, and then the next book up that I read this month is The Summer of Broken Rules. This again was another winner for me. This book was so fun and so different than what I thought it was gonna be. And to be quite honest, I didn't read the back of the book before I started reading it. And I usually go into books blind, but this one for some reason, like, I had heard people talk about, but like I didn't hear what anyone, like the plot of the book at all. Literally had no idea what I was expecting, and I was expecting something so different. When I started reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually such a fun summer book. So basically this book follows Meredith, and her and her family every year go on a vacation to Martha's Vineyard. But the past few years, they haven't gone because Claire and her family are dealing with the loss of her sister. So the first time they end up going back, it's because of her cousin getting married. Did I say it takes place in Martha's Vineyard? I don't remember. They're getting married on the annual trip to Martha's Vineyard, and during this annual trip, every single year, they end up playing a game of assassin. And Meredith is determined to win this game to honor her sister, but to try and win the game of assassin, Meredith ends up forming an alliance with a groomsman, but she can't help falling for him, but she's afraid she's gonna lose the game if she loses focus, but also wants to continue this newfound romance that she has with the groomsmen. So like I said, this was like a really fun, cute read. It gave off such good summer vibes, and plus like reading about the game of assassin was so fun. Only complaint that I really do have with this book is that there was so many different characters that you had to like kind of remember and follow. A good thing and a bad thing about it is the fact that yes, there is a family tree in the beginning of the book, but there are so many other characters that are involved other than the family tree that it was really hard to kind of follow along with that, if that makes sense. But like I said, this book was so fun, and it was so cute, and it was so different than what I thought it was gonna be like. The romance was a lot heavier than what I had heard, so a lot of people kept talking about how it was like really a subplot of romance. Honestly, like I felt like the book was definitely heavily romance based, not anything else, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I ended up actually giving this book a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think if you need another summer read, that this is such a good one to finish off a summer with. So fun. It takes place over the course of a week, so you get a lot of information. The next book we have up is The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hilderbrand, and this is the first Ellen Hilderbrand book I have actually ever read. I don't necessarily know what to say about this book. I wasn't overly impressed. I wasn't really into it. It took me, again, forever to read. I feel like the pacing of this was really slow as well. Like, obviously there was just so much going on in the book, and there was parts of it that did intrigue me where like I felt more invested in the story, but then there was other times where it just was boring and fell flat for me. I know a lot of people are obsessed with Ellen Hilderbrand, like they think that she's like the best summer author, and don't get me wrong, like I feel like she did give off really great summer vibes, but I'm not necessarily sure that her books are for me. I don't know if I'll ever buy another Ellen Hilderbrand book, or my first book wasn't her best book. You know what I mean? I feel like I want to give another one of her books a shot, but I don't think it'll be this year. It will probably end up being like next summer if I do give her a shot again. So this book follows the employees of the Hotel Nantucket. So basically the Hotel Nantucket is being refurbished by a billionaire after it's sat vacant. There we go. For a few years. A woman named Lisbeth, who is going through a breakup, was named the general manager of this hotel. And obviously she hires a few employees for the hotel, and the book ends up following the employees and Liz to give this riveting story. That's honestly the best description I can give you. So I'm not really good at describing books, as we all know. Partially not being interested in the book doesn't help. This one, like I said, kind of fell flat for me. It wasn't horrible. I did enjoy parts of it, but it really wasn't for me. This one I ended up probably rating about a 3 stars as well. I would probably never ever pick it back up to want to reread it or anything like that. Like I said, it just kind of fell flat, and I don't have anything else to say about it. And the last book I read in July was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I decided I was going to give Tessa Bailey another shot because I heard that this book in the Bellinger Sisters series was the better one, and this is the second book. So the first one I read was It Happened One Summer, and then this one follows Piper's sister Hannah. And if fisherman, Fox Thornton, who ends up being one of Brendan's friends and skipper. I don't know. So this book ends up following Fox and Hannah. Hannah is returning to Westport for her job, and she ends up having to stay in Fox's guest room. Over the past few months, they have been talking and texting while she's living in California. They're both trying to convince themselves that they're just friends with each other and that they don't have feelings for each other. Now, I will say I did end up liking this book better than the first one. There were a few things about it that I was like, you know, like it was a little cringy, but the storyline itself was a little bit better, and I definitely liked the way that the characters got together better than in the first one. Whereas I felt like in the first book that Piper and Brendan were just physically attracted to each other, and that's all that the relationship really was, that it was all like a physical attraction. Whereas this one, I enjoyed this one a lot more just because Fox and Hannah actually were friends beforehand. Fox, who is a player basically, made an effort and an attempt to be Hannah's friend first for really trying to be with her. Like, he knew he had feelings for her, but he really did just try and be her friend because he just wanted her in his life. So I really did appreciate that aspect of this book, that they were friends first, and it was like established that they were friends. So that is something I really enjoyed, and that's why I liked this book a lot better, just because there was a little bit more depth to it. It was a little cringy. Like, it's just the way that like the characters talk to each other that's really cringy in like certain situations, because I'm kind of like, if someone had said that to me, I would be like, what the heck? I couldn't even fathom. Some of the conversation was so unnatural that I was like, who talks like this? I don't want to say embarrassing, but it was like a little cringy to read. So yeah. But overall, I did end up really enjoying it. Like I said, it's not my favorite book, but it wasn't terrible. I ended up giving this one a 3.5 stars. Alright guys, but that is all the books that I ended up reading in July. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned for more book videos because I have so many plans and I'm so excited. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social medias as well as subscribing to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.